Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you guys all had a great Easter break. So today, our speaker, I was trying to figure out how to do a bio for her, but I just realized there's not enough words to encapsulate Miss Donita. So would everybody please give it up for Miss Donita Phillips?
I'm going to be talking to you today about something that's very near and dear to my heart. Now, I talked to you about reconciliation and devos just a wee bit ago, right? And what did I tell you was coming? Anybody remember? Starts with an F, ends with an S. Has an or give in the middle of it. Forgiveness. We're going to be talking about forgiveness today. This one is near and dear to my heart. In fact, I just used it about 30 minutes ago. So I'm not talking to you about anything that I do not believe in and that I do not practice. Forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Talk to me. What have we been told? What do you do when you forgive somebody? Let it go? Forget it? Pack it down? Lay it down at the altar. That's one of my favorites, lay it down at the altar. This is all brilliant stuff, and it was shared with me for years. I accepted Christ when I was 7, made a public confession of faith at 9, and I tried so hard to be what a beautiful woman of God was supposed to be, and I could not figure her out. Because I was carrying around with me a backpack full of rocks. And after this, if you guys want to fill it, I have it full of rocks. Because that's what I was doing. I did not know how to forgive. I would go up to the altar of God and I would lay it down time after time. I would beg him, oh, help me forgive. And then after I'd sat it down, I would brilliantly catch the little, this is like an omen for me, Daniel. I am now twisted up in my thing here. I thought I had it all set so it wouldn't happen. But I can lay this thing down, but I'm going to pick this bag up as soon as I leave the altar. I'm a pro at this. I cannot just let it go. I can't forget it because I am created in the image of God. Am I not? Are you not? Does God forget? God cannot forget. He's omniscient. He's all-knowing. He never forgets. When he tells us in the psalm that he will forget our transgressions, he is saying, I'm not going to bring that up to you again. That bill is paid in full. But God full well remembers what's going down. You cannot tell me that Jesus is up in heaven. Go back, look at the book of Revelation, that Jesus is walking around going, where did I get these scars? Oh, where did they, do you know how I got these? He knows where he got them. He didn't forget. I don't forget either. I guarantee you I have the memory of an elephant. If someone wrongs me, I will remember it until the day of my death. I'm certain of it. And it's always great to have those memories flick back up in my mind. Let it go, Donita. I pick it back up. Get over it. Anybody in this room besides me been told, get over it? Wouldn't it be nice if it was that easy? I can pretend I've gotten over it, but believe you me, I have not. I am not that good. Now, here's a real pet peeve of mine. Has anybody else in this room besides me been told, forgive yourself? Show me in Scripture. I've looked and I have never found anywhere in Scripture where Jesus says, Donita, forgive yourself. He says, I will forgive you, 1 John 1:9. And he tells me to forgive other people. But I am telling you as I stand here, I do not have the power or authority to forgive myself. I go to the one who does. That's how we receive forgiveness. Now, when something happens to us, when a wrong occurs, when we have been offended, or if we have done something to someone else, what is a common emotion, starts with an A, ends with an R, and has an NGE in the middle of it? What emotion do we sometimes feel? Anger. Anger is my go-to emotion. If you had met me 25 years ago, you would have met an entirely different person. I had an anger level that would sit at an 8. So whenever somebody pulled out in front of me, it flipped up to a 10, which is the top of my angerometer, and I would rip them apart in the car. Now, isn't anybody in the car but me? Or, sadly enough, my children, which is what was a big incentive for me to figure out how to deal with this anger. Anger is an emotion that is lied about in the secular world and in the Christian world. We are told, don't be angry. You can't be angry about that. You're a Christian. You shouldn't feel that emotion. Well, then explain to me why Jesus himself felt the emotion of anger. Now, he's the only one in the world, in the universe, that could be righteous enough to deliver on it. I am not, which is why I need to work with it. But if instead of using anger as a sinful thing, Ephesians 4, instead of looking at it as sinful, what if instead I look at it like an indicator? This was eye-opening for me. On the dashboard of your car, each one of us has indicator lights. The red light comes on. Ooh, engine. Oh, oil, change. Gas, you need gas. If I have an empty gas tank thing, a ding, ding, it goes off like this and I ignore it, what's going to happen? Yes, I will be sitting on the side of the road somewhere because I ignored the warning light. And I'm guaranteeing you, if I ignore my warning light of anger, I'm going to be sitting on the side of the road somewhere. I have been there. If I will use my anger as an indicator, what am I saying about that? I'm saying, go in like the psalmist does. Why are you disquieted within yourself, Donita? Why are you angry? I'm not going to ignore my light. I'm going to look and see, why am I angry? What has ticked you off royally here? You see, once I've identified that I'm angry and then I can look at it, it is going to point me inside to a specific event. That's a guarantee. Once I've found the event that I'm angry about, talked to Dean Jamie about this morning, anger indicator. 3 of the Nikeo students got to see that I was a little tipped off in the office. They don't know why. Anger light came on. Donita, what are you angry about? Ooh, event. This just happened, and I am upset. Once I've seen the event, now I can look in and find the offender. It's not you. Sorry, I pointed out that's a terrible thing to do. I didn't just use one finger, I used all 5. There's nothing could point back at me. But once I've seen the event, I can see the offender. And once I've seen the offender, now the forgiveness process can start. That's how hard it is. This is what we're going to be seeing. It's essential that I know that any pain inside me that I refuse to process, to deal with, to allow to heal, is going to be stuffed down inside. I was a master stuffer. I think a lot of us in this room are master stuffers. Push it down, ain't going to happen, ain't going to be a problem. The problem is when we stuff things down and stuff things down and stuff things down, do you think those things are stuffed in there dead? They are very much alive. And I promise you, I am a walking testimony to this. Those stuffed emotions are going to come out at some time. And they will come out at a time you do not want them to, with people you do not want them to come out with. You can only hide it for so long. So instead of stuffing it, we're going to learn how to look at it. Remember, anger is never buried dead. It is buried alive. Fact. Now, this is the thing. God is intelligent, right? God understands that he created us, and he created us with an automatic response of anger. I may not choose to be angry. An event may happen, bam, and I am mad. But I do choose how I'm going to deal with my anger. I choose how to deal with my anger. That is a fact. Everybody in this room is going to deal with anger. Some of us in this room may not believe in Jesus Christ as their Savior, and if you don't know how, we would love to share that with you. There are people that we're going to deal with every single day that do not believe in Jesus as their Savior. They have the ability to work with their anger, but they don't have something that those of us who love Jesus have, and that's tools. Tools from the Word of God to deal with anger, forgiveness. These are the tools. 2 Peter 1:3, God gives me the tools to process my anger. Philippians 2:13, he gives me the power to use the tools. James 1, 2, and 3 gives me the training to use the tools. Galatians 6:2, the support to use the tools. And 2 Corinthians 5:10, the rewards for using those tools. And you all have all of these scriptures. You have all of this information with you. Just as our anger is automatic, our mature response to it must be automatic by using the biblical tools. You see, this is the difference for me. When I was told to get rid of, to deal with my forgiveness, to handle it, to let it go, to whatever, I was never shown how. This is a how-to. God's word is the only way to deal with forgiveness. His tools are all. God gives me permission to be angry, Ephesians 4:26. But what does he say about my anger? In your anger, do not sin. Deal with it, Donita. Deal with it. With this permission, understand, it's my circle of responsibility. Remember this famous hula hoop? It is in my circle of responsibility to deal with my anger using my biblical tools. That is my circle. God doesn't allow me to step outside of that circle with that responsibility. He wants me to use those tools. Now we've looked at our event. We've looked at the offender, and here comes the part that was freeing for me, the forgiveness part. This is the part where everybody goes, ooh, ah, because this is when it's going to get exciting. And I'm also going to tell you it's going to get hard. But I will promise you, if you will use God's tools for forgiveness, it is doable and it's worth it. It will change your life. I'm walking proof. It will change your life. So, question I'm going to ask myself, and I know I'm going through this fast. When I teach this set, this is usually a 4 to 6 hour session. And I'm doing it in 25 minutes. That's why I've given you so many notes, okay? I'm giving you the briefest overview. What's a reason I may not want to forgive? Well, fact of the matter, they don't deserve it. We can sit here and we can swap some stories about one of them and tell you they didn't deserve to be forgiven. Newsflash, neither do I. Isn't that a hard one to swallow? That one hurts a little bit. Another fact of the matter, and I dealt with this one, I wanted revenge. I wanted to see them pay. I wanted to watch them pay for it. They hurt me. Isn't it right? They suffer too. Let me watch a little bit. Revenge. And this is the cool thing that I learned. Revenge is abused and it's confused. Now, what I'm getting ready to say may make you want to shut your mind off. I'm asking you, keep it open for just a minute. Ask for God to speak into your heart. Take with you what you want and leave what you don't. But this is what I've learned. Revenge is biblical. I'm going to repeat it. It's worth saying. Revenge is biblical. Someone does deserve to pay for what they've done to us. That's the way it's going to go down, right? Genuine forgiveness requires payment for an offense. It's a bill that's owed. God makes a direct connection between revenge and forgiveness. Hebrews 9:22 tells me that without the shedding of blood or payment for sin, there will be no forgiveness. Matthew 2:28, hear this one. For this is my blood of the new covenant. The blood of Christ is the effective part of the atonement for our sin. The blood of Christ sets aside all other plans for pardon or forgiveness of sins. This is where forgiveness comes in. This is where revenge is right. But this is the deal. We get so confused. We want the revenge for ourselves. We put it in our circle. And whose circle does it belong in? Whose? I'm not answering this for you. Whose circle is revenge in? God's circle. It is not in mine. It is in God's circle. Romans 12:19 and 1 Thessalonians 4:6. So then I'm going to have a circle too. God's is revenge. What's in mine? It's that F word. It's the forgiveness part. Forgiveness has another F word that goes with it, and it's called freedom. Because you see, I need 2 volunteers, and you guys look beautiful. Come on up. And you're going to be here for a while, so get ready to just hang out with me. Oh. Miss Ruthie is innocent. She has been wrongfully wronged by wronging persons over here. Are you ready? This is our offender. She has hurt Ruthie in ways we cannot comprehend. She ate her chocolate cake when she shouldn't have. You see, when I want to take revenge, when I put it in my circle, this is what I'm doing because I want them to pay. I now handcuff them to myself, and I'm going to take them with me wherever I go. 24/7, they are with me. They go to bed with me. They get up with me. They go to the bathroom with me. They eat dinner with me. They talk on the phone with me. They text with me. Because I'm going to make them pay. Forever and always, you guys can hang there for a little bit, they are with me. That's what it does when we want to hang on to that grudge. We want to hold that hurt in our heart. We want to be mad at them. See, Jesus gives us that opportunity to do that. He's not going to force us into anything. If we want to keep them, he says, okie dokie then. We'll work on that. That's what we want to do. When we take our own revenge in anger, I have completely removed God from my way of thinking. I've stepped into God's circle of responsibility. The first step toward putting revenge in God's circle, and this is huge, is whenever I realize that just because I forgive someone doesn't mean I'm letting them off the hook, and it doesn't mean they don't have any consequences. And it doesn't mean I have to reconcile with them. You see, forgiveness is given immediately. The second that you decide to forgive her, she's forgiven. Once. Hear what I'm saying, once. Memories are going to come, we'll talk about those. She is not off the hook. And she doesn't need to be friends with her forever. You can set boundaries. I have that book in my room. You guys can have it. It's okay to understand that reconciliation is not a given when you forgive. My forgiveness will be given as soon as I'm ready, once for you. And then you will earn my trust back. That's the joy of boundaries. Forgiveness given, trust earned. So if you've hurt somebody, and then you think, oh, we ought to be buddy-buddy again, think again. We earn trust back. I've been one who's had to earn trust back. So what is forgiveness? Keep standing there. You guys be there for a minute. There are 2 different types of people. One of them is going to be the keeper. Here, Ruthie, you just love hanging on to stuff, girl. Nice and heavy, isn't it? I put big rocks in there. They're keepers. They want to hang on to all that stuff. And Jesus, I know that they're cheap. Jesus says, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's what you got to do. But you see, there can be another type of a person. I was a keeper for years. I wanted something different, so I learned to become a sender. What is a sender? What is a sender going to do? Go back to Leviticus 17:7-10. We're talking about the priests here, and they're going to lay the hands on the scapegoat. Remember that little deal? After they laid the hands on the scapegoat, they sent the goat on their sins on the scapegoat. They sent that goat out of the wilderness. They are not going to go chasing the goat down. And the goat certainly doesn't want to come back to these crazy people. The goat is gone forever. And it's the very same thing with us. If I decide that I want to forgive someone, I take my little envelope, I put my address on it. Say I'm going to mail it to Miss Caitlin over here. I'm going to put Caitlin's address on it, the stamps on it, and I'm going to put it in a U.S. post box. I am telling you, after I stick something in the U.S. post box, I best not be having my hands in there digging around. I could spend some time in a jail for doing that. That's a federal offense. Once you send it, it's gone. That is the joy of sending something. You want to be released yet? Are you kind of sick of standing there? It's kind of weird. I don't know. I've told you before it's doable, didn't I? I told you it was worth it. Now we're going to figure out how to do it. This is the tool that was shown to me 30 years ago. It took me a while to figure it out and process it, but once I did, I've started using it. I am very visual, so understand this. This is not my deal. It was given to me, and I use it. It's called the Jesus Jail. Okay, it's cheesy, JJ, Jesus Jail. But I do use it. I picture this. Now, Miss Caitlin, you're going to be my buddy. Come on up here. Caitlin has wronged me, okay? Caitlin and I are handcuffed together forever and 20 years, it feels like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide, hey, you know what? I'm sick and tired of carrying you around. I don't mean that offensively. I'm sick and tired of carrying you around. So I'm going to take you to the Jesus Jail. This is the deal with your offender. We think we're punishing them. They may not know they did anything. Or I'm going to tell you something that's worse yet. And this was my offender from when I was 18 years old. Doesn't care what was done to me. Do you get that? Doesn't care. Never will care and will never say he is sorry. I'm past that. If I saw that person today in this room, I guarantee you I'd go up and give him a Donita hug. I don't want to be your buddy, but I'd give you a Donita hug because I've forgiven you. I'm sick of carrying him around. So here we go. I'm going to picture Jesus in front of me, just like he's right there. And then I'm going to walk up to Jesus with my offender, and I'm going to say, Jesus, this is Caitlin. And this is exactly what she did to me. One offense for each time I go forgive. Each offense was done one at a time, right? Didn't just accumulate, one at a time. I go one at a time with each offense to Jesus. This is Caitlin, and this is what she did to me, and this is how she made me feel. And I tell it to him. I lay it out, bare-boned out. And I tell him, you have revenge. I want you to take responsibility for revenge. Not me. Not me. I'm sick of carrying this around. You take the revenge. But this goes wild and it gets a little difficult. See, I'm a sinner saved by grace, just like you. And this is where I have to say, when I'm ready, but Jesus, I know you love Caitlin. And so with that same grace and mercy you've shown me, I'm asking you to show her mercy and grace. And I'm leaving her with you. And I'll walk away. Thank you, Miss Caitlin. It's that simple and it's that hard. One event at a time. It's taken me a long time to get from point A to where I'm at on my way to point B. But I'm a work in progress. It doesn't take me as long now to go through my Jesus jail as it used to. It's quicker. Sometimes it's pretty painful. Forgiveness has been one of my toughest works in this life. And it's been the one that's given me the most freedom. Y'all aren't done yet. So what am I going to do? Am I going to be a keeper? Oh, she's going to be a sender. Look at that. She's going to be a sender. So she gets to take off the backpack. And once she's handing this to Jesus, she gets to take off her cuffs. And she's free. How's that feel, Miss Ruthie? You get to go have lunch out by yourself if you want. She didn't really offend anyone. It's that simple and it's that hard. Now, this is the other hard part, though, and this is the thing that I got stuck on for quite a while. And I had to figure out what I was going to do with this, the memories. You see, my brain is not a spiritual being. My brain is a biological organ with 1 billion bytes of memory storage up here. And I remember everything, just like I told you I do. I can remember when I was 18. I can remember where, the sounds, the smells, every detail of the place I was at, every single one. Like right now, I'm standing here talking to you, and I'm already right there in that place. That's the memory. I have to tell myself, Donnie, do you know what? That memory, do I look like I've been pained by that? No, because I have understood that memory is a memory. It's not the event happening again, even though it can still be painful. In fact, sometimes more painful than the event. I understand that. But that memory has lies attached to it. Those lies that say, Donnie, you're not worth anything. Donnie, you're trash. You should have been thrown out a long time ago. Donnie, you're never going to make it in this world. Donnie, no one will ever want you. Some of us heard those things in there, right? What's the truth? Donnie, you're a child of God. Donnie, you're made in the image of God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Before I was ever formed in my mother's womb, my father knew me. I am a daughter of the king. I am royalty. I'm in the royal priesthood. Ooh, doesn't sound like anything that I just heard. I speak truth into those lies that come in. And then I say, Lord, thank you for that memory. This seems so trite, but it is so awesome. Thank you for that memory. Lord, thank you that I forgave X, Y, and Z. And Lord, I love you. Thank you for loving me, and thank you for the grace you've provided, and the praise session begins. That's forgiveness. That's freedom. That's abundant life. And it's real for the taking. It just depends on what we want to do with it. Any questions? If not, I have canned ones. What do you think? Do we have time for questions, Miss Emily? Yeah.
Okay, so if any of y'all, what? Oh.
Okay, so you said that forgiveness is a one-time thing. I've heard a lot that forgiveness is a daily thing. So for like one offense specifically, how would you address that? Because you say it's one time, other people say it's every day. So I guess how would you rectify that?
So what I rectify that with is that forgiveness is a one-time deal because we've automatically forgiven the person, right? What we are looking at after that, when it comes back day after day after day, the same thing is what we're talking about, not new offenses. Okay, same thing comes back day after day after day. Those are memories. That's where we go back to, this is a memory, thank you for the memory, thank you that I forgave that person and I can praise and move forward. That's why. Jesus, let's just take this just a step further too, may I? Did I answer your question? So taking this a step forward, too, in a different direction, whenever we go back and forth with Jesus, like say that I did this sin, something really stupid, and I mean like the shame comes to you, and so you go to God and you're like, please forgive me for, and then anybody else, you've done that, you've asked God for forgiveness, but you're not sure if he really forgave you, you don't feel forgiven. Anybody else besides me in this room ever happened? Okay, that's called false guilt. Jesus Christ has the power and authority to forgive me for my sins. True? Once I've asked him, 1 John 1:9, he's faithful and just to forgive me of my sins and cleanse me of all unrighteousness. Jesus has forgiven me. When that memory comes back and I think, oh, I've not been forgiven. Oh, I'm such a terrible, horrible person. And then I go back and I begin to beg God to forgive me. I beat myself up over it. You know, it's that repeated confession. What I am truly saying is this, and this is going to sound harsh, but it's real. I am saying to Jesus, you know what? I don't believe you forgave me because you don't have the power to do it. I don't believe your blood covered me. I don't believe that what you told me about me being this beautiful, wonderful creation and that I'm made in your image is true because you obviously don't want to forgive me because I'm a piece of trash. Does that make sense? Once you've asked for forgiveness from Jesus, you don't have to continue to go back, ask for forgiveness for that same sin over and over. He has forgiven us. We thank him for the forgiveness. We, again, give the praise, okay? Do you see what I'm saying?
You're describing God's forgiveness of us. I think my question, and maybe the question over here, would center on our forgiveness of others. So say I go through the process where, at least at this moment, I believe I've forgiven this person, then I wake up tomorrow morning and I'm just as angry as I was before I forgave them. How would you address the question of, well, if I'm still angry, did I really forgive?
That is the first. Oh, I keep feeling like I need to talk really loud. Sorry, I'm used to doing that. That's the process that I got stuck in for a long time because I was so angry over injustices that had happened. What I had to come to was this. I love to be a keeper. I love to hang on to things. And if my anger is still up here, or even right in here, if my anger is not at a 0, I need to check and see where is my heart on forgiveness. Have I stepped in and forgiven, or am I choosing to pick this thing back up and walk away with it? I am telling you that we'll just go back to my 18-year-old experience. I would try everything. But if I saw a photo, if I smelled something, if someone said something that triggered it, I was back here, madder than hops, ready to fight. I was going to take everybody apart. It wasn't until I could do this that I can actually look at you and say, if he walked in this room right now and came up and said, Donita, I could give him a Donita hug. I'm telling you I could do it. There was still a hard boundary. Does that answer it at all? Forgiveness for me is when I put down the bag. That's how I see it. I mean, that's just my journey.
One more question?
Miss Cake?
So if I'm to create like a hypothetical for you, so let's say someone wrongs you, but then they continue to do the wrong, they refuse to see that they're wrong, and you are unable to create boundaries with them. How do you go about that?
So this is what I had to do in my life, and I am still doing it. I have had and have family members that are very difficult to deal with. They just mess you over royal a lot, okay? And it's just, for one, it's a day-to-day basis. You know, every time I'm there, I just have to go back through the process. It's setting a hard boundary. Beck and I have talked a lot about this. It's setting that boundary up. I am lousy at boundaries. I try so hard, and I'm just not good at them. I am trying. I am a work in progress. I'm not trying to tell you anything I'm not working on, okay? It's setting a boundary up and saying you're allowed in this far. I am going to allow you to do this and this, but you're not allowed to do it anymore. With one of the people that hurt me so desperately throughout my life and then up into my adulthood until she passed, it was just, I made up a place in my head, a boundary in my head that said, I love you. You are not allowed to talk to me this way. I am going to leave the house now, and I'll come back on X day or whatever, and come back in and we'll do this again. It was a hard boundary I had to set. It would, sometimes be during screaming and yelling and all of that, that's going on. And I chose not to be a game player anymore. And what that means is you can scream and you can yell and you can do all of your tactics to get me to get a rise out of me, or whatever it is you're looking for that gives you that adrenaline rush. But I'm not playing the game. I will honor you and respect you. But with honor and respect, I love you and I'm out of here. And that's one of the hardest things that you'll do, especially with somebody that you truly want to love you. And sometimes it's going to be a harsh thing I'm going to say. It's the reality of it. Sometimes the people that we love do not have the hardware or software, or whatever you want to call it, to love us back like we want to be loved. But we have a king who does. Yeah? Yeah. Doesn't make it easy, but it's doable. Does that answer it?
Awesome. Got a question over here.
I think I'm still myself kind of confused about the semantics here. 'Cause if I understand the Greek correctly, like what Jesus talks about in John 20, if you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven. It's more of a legal term, but I find myself in sometimes the emotions and the thoughts get part of it, but I find I don't want this person. There's a difference between me having bad memories of something, but then also looking at the person with an evil eye. And so sometimes having to get to that place of where we have found that difference between, at least for me, that evil intent towards someone, because sometimes I find I have to give up everything, even my rights in the situation, a total place of humility, kind of where I think of John 21 with Peter and Jesus. But I think I'm kind of confused. How do we get to that? What is your thought about that day-to-day, add your definition of forgiveness with the idea of being able to, struggling to get to that point of having a godly perspective on the person, because forgiveness is, one event in a legal sense, but there's sometimes we say we forgive, but there's something that's keeping us from thinking in the forgiven yet wounded standpoint, as opposed to the that person is justified at as much as it depends on me being at peace with one another. So maybe clarifying the difference between how we feel towards the person, because there's two different feelings that can happen in forgiveness, I think.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this right, Dr. Guthrie, so you're talking about the emotional side of forgiveness?
Well, there's two different sides. I mean, there's the side where you can, the person's totally forgiven, it still hurts, the memory's still hurts.
Yes.
And there's also the side where emotionally, I want to forgive them, but I find that there's too much that there's a lot I have against the person after I've said that, and so I've tried to totally reconcile it on my side, be at peace with the person, but I can't be it. So I guess the difference, I could be at peace with the person and haven't forgive them, but then there's also the side where I want them forgiven, but I can't be at peace with the whole situation. Because there's one where I'm at peace even though it's not reconciled. There's another side where I'm not at peace.
So sometimes you're at peace when the person has been reconciled with, and sometimes there is no peace. And are you reconciled or not? I'm trying to get this in my head.
In both cases, I say there's people like I wanted to forgive. Say there's someone I want from 10, 15 years ago. I want to forgive, but I'm not at peace about that. There's another person who.
So wait, can we stop right here?
Yeah.
So why do you think that you're not? I'm not a counselor. Please don't think I am. Please don't think that I am. Okay? So there's a person that you want to be at peace with, but you're not.
But I think the reason is because I want the peace rather than the person to be forgiven. Because then later I find this issue is still something I'm angry with, so I think I just need to say that I've been dealing with this day by day because I'm actually wanting to see this person, I want to see myself at peace, but what I need is to forgive the person, not to be seeking my own peace. So I think maybe this day by day thing and the authority Jesus has given us about forgiveness, I think that's what's confusing me a little bit.
So the day by day thing, the memories that you're living with, sometimes, if I'm understanding this correctly, and forgive me if I'm not. So one of the things that I struggled with so much when I wanted to forgive my mom is that I carried my mom with me everywhere. Now, if this is live, man, I'd like you to cut this thing off right here for just a minute. I wanted my mom to love me. I wanted her to be kind to me.